Hey guys, welcome to AJS. It's been a while since I made the video. Been quite busy of late, and also there has been a delay in replying back to the comments. But going forward, I do promise. I'll try to be much more active, and depending on the workload, at least on a weekly basis, we'll try to make a video. Today's video is going to be about the 12 different houses in the Vedic astrology. So based on the comments I saw, this was one of the comment I've seen from multiple viewers on making something like this, which gives a basic insight into what the different houses are and what is the significance of each and every house. Alright, so without any delay, let's get started. First house, or ascendant as we call it, is all about your personality. It's yes, it has to do with your luck, and it has to do to some extent with name and fame, not completely, which is a misconception that first house is also responsible for luck, name, fame, money, etc. To some extent it is. I won't deny it is not completely at all, but to a minimal extent, there's a lot of contribution from other houses as well. So, first house is mainly about your personality. It's all about your looks. It's all about how charismatic you are. It's all about your features. So, and all about the energy you get. Like once you talk to someone or once you are with someone, you get the energy around them. So, that's all about the first house. Second house is about your family. Second house is about the assets, say the money you're going to save in the bank account, the mutual funds, the stocks, ETFs. So all the fixed assets that you have is going to be determined through the second house. It's also about your speech. So how well can you talk? Are you able to do the pitch variations? Are you able to communicate well with others? It's also about your family business. So, what kind of business your family has, and also, like any kind of belongings or positions that you'll get from the family. So, that can be seen again from this house. Um, this includes your married life as well. There's again a conception that seventh house predominantly defines the married life, and this is the only house that has to be looked on. But again, like second house is also responsible to some extent for married life, and same is the fourth house as well. This is also called as a Marak house. So Marak house is something that can mentally and physically kill you. So you might have a lot of tensions. So tension due to family, some riots within the family, and that's not giving you exactly the peace of mind. So all of that can be seen through this house. This house also represents your family. So in Hindi, they call it as Dhan and Kutumba. Kutumba is nothing but family. So you might have some misunderstandings within the family. You might have some fights within the family. Anything that doesn't give you peace of mind is going to be through the family. If there are ill aspects or negative aspects of this house, it can also drain a person to death. So there has been some instances like a father has taken a loan or a son has taken a loan. The father is not able to pay that, or the son is not able to pay the loans. And there's some conflicts, like whenever a division happens within the family, the younger son doesn't get anything or the elder one gets everything. All of a sudden they become bankrupt. That these kind of situations eventually leads to suicide of that person or mental agony. They have to go through depression. All of that can be seen through second house. Moving on to third house. Third house is about your short distance travel. It shows like say if you are within the country, traveling within the country, traveling through a countryside, or anything with a short distance is seen via this house. This also most of the times we see via the Gochar Kundali, and we predict like hey this month looks to be of some short travels. Those kind of things are seen through this house. Um, if there are some dominant planets in this house, you can predict the profession of that person. Maybe they can be a Uber driver, they can be a truck driver, continuously moving from state to state. This house also shows a courage of a person, how courageous they are. It also represents your younger siblings and relationships with them. Writing, speaking ability again comes from this house. Right, moving to the fourth house. Fourth house is all about house. Will you be at peace even when you are in the house? It shows the kind of house that you will live in. If you have a dark planet associated, dark planet in this house or associated or aspect on this house, it might show that you might have a room that is completely dark. And so depending on the planets, it can also show your houses. You might be living close to a temple. You might be living close to a church or mosque. So all of that can be predicted from this house. Peace, the peace you will feel at when you're at the home. It shows your family life. It shows the vehicles. Predominantly, this is it shows your mother as well, your relationship, your terms with the mother. If you have Ketu in this house, it might show that your mother has given up on you. In most cases, this shows the house that you're going to live in after your marriage. Alright, moving on to fifth house. Fifth house is more about your kids. It's more about the fun. It's more about being romantic. It's about past life karmas. If you have Jupiter over here, that's excellent placement for Jupiter, provided they're in a good sign and they don't have any aspects, I mean negative aspect. This house also shows your past life karmas. It shows your education, the primary education. This shows the business and intelligence of this person. Alright, moving on to sixth house. Sixth house is associated with diseases. It can also show how this person will deal with their enemies. It shows about their profession, how they are going to interact with their co-workers, their work life, how busy they are going to be, the work-life balance. So all of that is seen from the sixth house. All right, moving on to seventh house. Seventh house is about your marriage. It also includes any kind of partnership you will have in your business. This shows the respect this person will deserve in the society. So you have first house, and exactly opposite of first is your seventh house. So this also shows how people or the society will respect them. It involves sex. It involves sexual relationship with the legal partner. This is also a Marak house. Second and seventh are the Marak house. Dealing with marriage, sometimes, they can kill anyone if they have to go through a bad marriage. So divorces and eventually leading to depression, alimonies. And those kind of things eventually, if it goes south, can cause death to anyone. So that is all about the 7th house. Moving on to 8th house. 8th house, now this house rules death. This house also responsible, shows the rebirth of a person. Art, it also shows once there is any setback in this person's life, how they are going to rise again. This house shows your in-laws, the relationship with your in-laws, relationship with the friends, the loans that you are going to have. If you analyze this house, you can see, because this house can be thought of as a deep house, like just like we see under the earth, like what are a lot of things rooted within the earth. So the hidden things that a person has, so all of that can be seen as a part of this house. So interest as in astrology, as in some kind of things, I mean, like superstitions, black magic, occult, ghost, they can be seen from this house. This house also represents the lifespan of a person. It can be thought of as a, so I mean, like there's a combination in the horoscope, and if all the alignment like of certain planets in the second, seventh, and eighth house, definitely you can predict death of that person. So to be completely sure, I mean, like no astrologer can be 100% sure, but looking at the alignment, you can predict like this time is not going to be favorable, especially when you have some Markesh Mahadasha. So Markesh Mahadasha is something which is of second and seventh house. And during that time, if you have such kind of an alignment, like you have second, seventh, eighth house, some planets in that, then it can predict death as well. All right, moving on to ninth house. Ninth house is all about your dharma house. It's called as the house of dharma. It's called as the house of a religion, and it's also your house of fortunes. So if you have to see the fortune of a person, you can very well take a look at this house, how religious that person is. So that can be predicted again by this house. And long distance travel. So if you have certain planets, even as a part of yearly horoscope, when you see, so some of the planets will change every year, as in Jupiter, and there's a proper alignment of north and south nodes, Rahu and Ketu, along with Saturn. It can predict a long distance travel. So for a software engineer, like whether when they get H1B as a part of this lottery, or some IT engineer planning to go abroad, can be predicted via this house. This shows your higher education. This shows the wisdom that you are going to bring in your life. It can be both positive and negative wisdom. So it all depends on the planets who are seated there. But for sure, I mean, how this person would grow in their life can be seen via this house again. Whether they are going to go for higher studies, higher education, and the kind of positive or negative influence they would have can be seen again via this house. Now, this house represents law as well. Ninth house is all about doing things right, and if you don't do it, you're going to be punished for it. So if you do want to see, or if some astrologers say that, hey, this year you might have some court cases, or you might get a traffic ticket, you'll be involved with law, chances are they are referring to your ninth house. So if you have some malefic aspect on your ninth, make sure you're doing the right things during this time, as you might have to face the law during this course, during this time. All right, so moving on to 10th house. 10th house, to some extent, it shows your respect in the society. It's not completely as it said, like, hey, if you look at 10th house, you can predict the career of a person. No, not completely true. Yes, 30%, Um, we can say 30 to 40% rules the career, but for deeper analysis, there is a separate chart called as D10 that needs to be analyzed, Dashmansh. All right, moving on to 11th house. 11th house is all about your gains. So you might have some stock gains, options, any kind of gains in real estate. Now those things can be seen or predicted by the 11th house, lottery gains, stock gains, any kind of gains that you have, 11th house. It shows the willpower of a person, power to do, say if you have certain goal, and if you will be able to meet those goals, will you get distracted? So all of that can be seen via this house. It shows all your income. So second and 11th house are the two main houses. 11th house shows all your income. If this person would have multiple sources of income, check the 11th house. If 11th house has good aspects, benefic aspects, lots of income, lots of gains. So 10th house, it is going to show your career to some extent. 11th house is all about the gains. And in terms of wealth, how much wealth or how many sources of income will you have can be seen via this house. All right, moving on to the last house, the 12th house. 12th house is the house of mystery. It's a house, some people say, Hindi they say it's a VI house. It's a house of a mystery. It's a house of your hidden talent. It's about foreign country. It's about long-term jail. It's about losses. Not when we say losses, it need not actually mean in terms of statistics or profit and loss. It can be loss of anything. Say it can be loss of money, it can be loss of enemies, it can be loss of health. In general, it shows a loss. So does it mean this house is bad? No. If you lose enemies, that's good, right? So in the same way, there are some things or some people, if you lose, that is great. And it all depends if you have some benefic aspects. So it's not going to be a loss of money or health. It's going to be loss of your enemies. So they are lost in other words. So overall, this is also house of your foreign countries. So if you have the dasha of this planet, then chances are you might have to go away from your home country and live in a foreign country for some time, say, depending on the dasha of the planet or the dasha. So, all right, so that's all about all the different 12 houses, and we'll come back more on the remedies that we can have. If you like this video, please do not forget to like, share, or subscribe. If you do have any comments, please enter in the comment section below. And that's pretty much for today's video. See you next week with some new series. Thanks for watching.